the diaconate, and we've asked him to give his own testimony about his involvement and what he's been doing in the church and what he finds joyful. So, go to it.
All right, well, when Charlie asked me to give a testimony, I didn't really know what that was. That sounded a little too Baptist for me, so I just decided to just kind of share my story with getting involved with First Presbyterian and a little bit about what it's meant to me, and then a little bit about what I think we can do together to make our good church a great church. Well, first of all, I guess it was about 6 years ago, I was brought to First Presbyterian by my wife, a reluctant Presbyterian. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and it was very important to me growing up, and it's been very important to my family, but the fact that I could count on two hands the amount of times I've been to church in the last 5 or 6 years before my wife and I started dating didn't really give me a leg to stand on. And also, when we started dating and decided to get married, she was living in Washington, I was living in Richmond. She said, okay, you can move to Washington and we can be Episcopalians, or I'll move to Richmond and we can be Presbyterians. So I guess I chose the lesser of the two evils. But the first time that we came to First Presbyterian Church, and we visited around some other Presbyterian churches, we didn't get to go to any Episcopal ones. One of the first people that we met when we walked in the door was Bob Pretty. And I now know Bob very well, and since then we've become colleagues, and Bob really put it on us, and in a good way. And we appreciated that warm welcome. We joined the church, and immediately Bob said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we've got going on. Please join. And it was great because it was a way to shrink a big organization. I know when I was in college, we all went to college and see that it's a big place, and it's kind of, and I was on the football team, which shrunk that group a little bit, and then I was in a fraternity which shrunk it even more, and allowed me to find my place in a part of a large organization. The first thing I did was Bob was leading a study of Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, and met some good guys. That was just a kind of a dip your toe in the water. We had a good time. We learned a lot. We shared a lot with each other, and that was very good. And then Bob turned me over to Chris and introduced me to Chris because I mentioned to Bob one time, hey, I'd like to do something with the youth. Well, you know, I guess the overriding message of what I have to say is we need a lot more Bobs. So let's focus that. But so I meet Chris, and hey, we're doing this confirmation mentor thing. Would you like to try it? Well, you know, I don't know, but so I did it. And then Chris is very persuasive, so I did it 2 more years. So 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row as a confirmation mentor. I met a lot of good young people. Was very inspired by their interest, very inspired by what they do with their lives. I think things have changed a lot in the last 25 years, and they're focused on a lot more interesting and bigger things than I certainly was when I was 14 or 15. I was very impressed with our youth, very impressed with the leadership of our youth. I worked with John Corey and some other people with the high school Sunday school, which we need to get back up and running. And you know, again, we go on this journey. We meet wonderful people. John Corey is a great guy and one of the most knowledgeable people about Scripture. I mean, I went to Sunday school when John was teaching, and I was a student. I was just kind of there, and I was right there with the youth, and it was great. So I really enjoyed that. And then they looked for volunteers to go on the Appalachian Service Project mission trip, and I guess it was a weak moment. And I was sure, I'll go. That would be great. And I think this was maybe February or March, and the trip was in June, I believe. And Chris doesn't know this, but every communication, everything I got leading up to that was, how in the world am I going to get out of this? What have I got I went on the website, what in the world have I got myself into? No shower, I was reading about this stuff with no showers, and so then I started saying, well, okay, Chris, I'll go, but I got to take my own car. I'm not riding up there in a van. Okay. But so anyway, I went in my own car with my deluxe air mattress and 2 fans and noise canceling headphones and everything else. I did set the record for most showers on the week of a mission trip, and did have to, after the second day, go to the grocery store and buy some Charmin, but it was a great experience. It was that week, living in the Tazewell County Middle School gym was probably the best vacation I've ever had in my life. It came in a really good time for me. It was a way to step away. It was kind of like, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you went to camp when you were kids, and camp world and the real world was different. You were there and you did your little thing, and it was not like being, that was like, being an ASP for a week was kind of like being at camp, except for instead of like, canoeing and playing basketball, you did a lot of hard stuff. Madeline was there, she would be able to tell you. But it was great, and watching the kids, we didn't have to tell them to get to work one time, and at least in my group. The people were interesting, seeing them interact with these unfortunate people, mountain folks. I think also there was some language barrier involved with the kind of the mountain dialect, but having grown up in northwestern North Carolina, about an hour and a half from where we were, I spoke the language, so I was an able translator when we were working on this. The project that my group worked on were 2 single-wide trailers that at some point had been hooked together like this. So there was a large room in the middle and 2 wings, and with a wooden structure built over the top as the roof. So that was certainly interesting, certainly not like anything we had seen. And the poor guy that lived, the guy, the husband, wife, and the son, and lived there would saunter out on the porch where we were working and start to give us instruction, which was met with varying degrees of appreciation. But he came out there one he said, he asked Jack McCall, he said, "What did you just do with my plug-ins?" And Jack was looking at him like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I had some plug-ins over yonder there. What'd you do with them? Did you cover them up? And Jack's like, I don't know. I was like, Jack, it means the outlets. Tell him we're going to cut the drywall out around them this morning. And so then we got it all figured out. But so that was great. The night times were great. The fellowship with the youth was great. Getting to know the other adults was great. So I'm sure Chris is always looking for volunteers. So I would suggest to anyone that has a week that that's certainly a worthy use of time. And I'm glad I did it when I did, because right now I truly can't do it. And instead of trying to get out of it, this spring I've been trying to figure out ways to work it out, and it's just not going to happen, but that's great. Another thing that has been very good that I've been involved with, and Rosalind was talking about the small groups, is every other Thursday morning, Casey's involved. Charlie's actually a member of our group, which is very, very good. We have a great teacher. We have a lot of young fathers, guys in their 30s and I guess now 40s, that get together for breakfast at 7:30 every other Thursday morning, and we have fellowship and we do a word share prayer. But the word share prayer is great, but it's really a fellowship and the getting to know one another and kind of knowing that we all have young children and we all are at similar stages in our careers, and being able to rely on each other, and that's been really a treat. And so if anybody we're not limiting it to young fathers in 30 and 40. So if any of you gents or ladies would like to join us every other Thursday morning at Baker's Crust, we're in Carytown. We're there now. We'd be glad to have you. And so then that leads me to the service that I was called to do in joining the diaconate, and then also called to do as a moderator, which that was definitely a moment of sanity, or insanity. But being a deacon, for those of you who are new, I know we've got some people that are coming back. It's going to be a great way for you to really dig a little deeper and learn what's going on at the church. Right now, honestly, we have all this, we gather all this information, and we're not really sure what to do with it. But I think, at the beginning, what we should do and take from this meeting and going forward is we're going to have all this knowledge that we get from going to the deacons' meetings and learning what's going on in the church, and let's be happy to share that with other people. Let's be the, if we're not going to be evangelists, let's be the storytellers. Let's go out and do that. That's what I've learned and tried to do. And it is an opportunity to lead, and I've enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed a lot of the meetings and the experiences, and it's been a blessing. I think the better you understand how an organization or how something functions, the more you can gain an appreciation for it. The business of church it's kind of like making sausage. And, you might enjoy church, but you enjoy sausage, but you don't really want to see how it's made. It's not the most pleasant thing. And I was disturbed by that at the beginning, and I've learned to live with it and hopefully create some change because of that. So, this morning, the one thing that I would say is that I don't think my experiences and things that I've been involved with are necessarily unique. I think we all have done these things and been involved in these groups and touched our lives. And I think we do a really good job of talking about them when we're all together. The people that have done the things, we do it, but we need to challenge ourselves to do a better job of talking about them to other people. To either people who aren't involved, who are members of the church that aren't involved, or our friends or people that we encounter that are either don't go to church or dissatisfied. That should be a challenge to us all, is to tell our story. It's important to us. It's great for me to stand up and tell my story to you, but I should be out telling it to people that need to hear it. We don't really need to hear it. So we always need a refresher, but kind of get the point with that. And then I'd also, just another reflection, this is kind of an aside just from what we were talking about before. I would hope that instead of looking at these numbers as a problem, I would hope that we would look at them together as a challenge, and we would challenge ourselves as leaders to not accept them, and take an honest, deep look at what we're doing well as a church and what we're doing poorly, and to change. One thing that I've learned and one thing that I've really been called, I feel strongly about is, we can't do that. We've always done it this way. And I can tell you, I've been a part of an organization before that was very, very important to me, that said, we're not going to do it differently. This is the way we've always done it. There's no need to change. And that organization, after 157 years, ceased to exist because they weren't willing to change. So I don't think we're going to cease to exist, but we need to get better. And I would like to challenge everyone to join me to do that. And also, I guess, I don't know if that's a testimony, but that's a good testimony, stump speech / whatever. But also, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But otherwise, thank you for devoting your time this weekend, and we look forward to putting you to work starting in May. So, thank you.
One observation and comment, David. Being on the diaconate this year with you,
as our moderator. I just think that you are walking the talk that you're doing, and I thank you for that, because you're pushing us to step out of our comfort zone and encouraging us to form different little groups within the DAC, and I just thank you for that, and I thank you for being persistent with it and holding our feet to the fire. I love the opportunity that you gave for us to come together as a DAC and to go bowling. I mean, that's a true, I couldn't go, unfortunately, I was really sad, but I thought, Kyle, that is what we need, is away from sitting around the table and doing fun things. And I think that's something you have really taken as your mission.
I appreciate that a lot, and I'm glad it seems to be working a little bit, but we got a long ways to go. And you know, and that brings up a good point. Is I hope that we will try to do things more as a group, as the elected leaders of the church, but to get to know each other and on a personal level and become friends. From a selfish, you know, kind of moderator standpoint, it's a lot harder to say no to a friend than it is somebody you don't know that well. But also from a just, you know, we should enjoy the journey and enjoy the experience together. So.